Good East positioning in the center, everybody. The name's Wu Fang, and as you can see here, we have a Pokemon rival ranking, and I am here with a good buddy of mine. Introduce yourself yet again.
Mypoptart. We've been on a bit of a hiatus, as me and Blue Fang found out. So we wanted to come back with a bang, and I think Pokemon is a good starting point.
Yeah. You know how big of a bang it is? You want Normally we have like 10, 9, 5 entrants. We have 20. 20 rivals
Yeah,
to
this
go over.
this
It
is, I think, our biggest list so far.
it would have been 21, but we both kind of came to the agreement that N does not count as a rival.
Yeah, that, and we didn't separate some of
Yeah,
the
like
gender
Caleb,
splits.
Serena, and Brendan and May, since it would be the opposite gender no matter what, we just put them together.
Right. So it's only like when it's a distinct character.
Still, 20 is a lot, so
Yeah,
let's
we
move
didn't much.
on.
We didn't really need to. Yeah.
Let us move on to the absolute worst rival in the entire series. I'm pretty sure half of you don't even remember this dude's name. It's Trevor.
Yeah. This
First
is
off,
a
what can
yeah.
we really say with Parachute Head looking over here? Not
Yeah.
much.
This guy has by far the least to talk about, and that's why he's so low. I mean, you had four you had four rivals in X and Y, and to be so boring, to have nothing going on with your character, you're gonna get lost in the shuffle, and here he is.
Yeah. If they're I will say the X and Y rivals, they're all meant to be plays on typical Pokemon players. Trevor is meant to be the Pokedex completer. And if he's meant to do that, why doesn't he have a good team?
Right, with the good options you had in X and Y, given their Pokedex isn't the best in the series, it's still very solid.
And he's the
Why
Pokedex completer. That was the excuse to give him literally anything.
I know, so why limit him so much and like give him less identity? I know you had a lot of other strong trainers you wanted to focus on in this game, but still, give Trevor something.
Yeah. In short, he's boring. He has a parachute slash a basket for a haircut. No one likes him. No one knows where his forehead begins. Who knows? He could have the thinnest head of hair and no one would know. He's just Go Light. And if there's anything the Pokemon anime learned, no one likes Go. That's why they didn't make him the protagonist.
Right.
Anyway, moving on to number 19. It's Mr. Vanillite Shirt himself, Tierno.
Yeah, I mean, to go from Trevor to Tierno does hurt me personally a little bit because I had this guy higher ranked in our separate lists.
Yeah, separate lists we had.
Yeah,
This one was me.
yeah. I like Tierno in the anime specifically. I think he's kind of charismatic, has a little bit of fun to him. But I was willing to cooperate given XY still has probably the weakest set of rivals, and Tierno isn't like my personal favorite.
When it came down to rivals, I'm going to state this now. Pop Tart over here has more external sources boosting his ranking, and I'm more main games. So if there's someone that you think was better in an external source, you can probably bet that he had him ranked higher compared to me.
Yeah, for example, as one of our bullet points says here, the anime. I was a frequent anime watcher as a kid, and Tierno just kind of low key vibed in that series. So I tend to give him more leniency.
If there is one thing I'll say about Tierno, at least unlike the other rivals, his team has an excuse to suck. He's meant to be a play on the Pokemon Challenge runner, who they on purposely go in with bad teams and just see how far they can get.
Yeah, I think while Tierno's not as egregious as Trevor in the game, I can understand why Tierno would go this low,
Yeah.
even if I personally disagree.
Anyways, let's move on to everyone's favorite, not really rich boy edgelord, Bede.
Starting here, I think the rivals do steadily increase in quality for the games at the very least.
Yeah.
Because Bede didn't really have much to do in the anime from what I remember. But in the game, he was, while annoying, still better than Tierno and Trevor.
Hey, his battle theme kicked ass. I don't care what anyone says.
That is true. It's one of the better ones in the game.
Um, Bede kind of feels more disappointing than the rest simply because he's the first dickhead rival we've had in a while. And I'm not saying something like, oh, well, what about Gladiator? No, this is like a true dickhead rival. There's like no sympathy. He's just a douche.
Until Rose takes away his gym challenge and he's taken under the wing of Opal, which
Yeah.
is a solid arc in my opinion. But like you said, it does kind of waste the shot at having a new Silver, at having a new Gary Oak. Like we haven't had that in so long, and to see Bede divert from that path is a little disappointing. But I still do like the conclusion of his story.
I like the conclusion. It's just, you can clearly see what they were trying to go for here, and they just went, it did not
Yeah, but
work.
I'd still say he has more to him than the guys below him.
Yeah, definitely. Coming in at number 17, we have yet another example of wasted potential. How?
Start off this entry. I just want to preface this. How I don't dislike him, but I feel like he's too nice. Now, I know that's going to sound hypocritical later in the list, but man, this guy just never has a down moment, and that's a little grating.
He hands you revives before you fight him in Ultra Sun and Moon.
You know, if you're a rival in the Pokemon game, don't hand your friend revives.
No. Like, the worst part is that, too, they had the perfect potential for a story here if they wanted to make a nice but pathetic trainer, being like, oh yeah, he's lineage, so naturally everyone would think that he's that, but they just don't do anything with him being Hala's grandson and supposed to be super strong.
That and Hollow was like a super memorable character for Gen 7. I know Gen 7, in my opinion, was lacking true standout characters. So to have Hala's grandson be this is a bit disappointing, but I still do like How himself.
Yeah. In short, he's just a Yamcha. A Yamcha that tries really hard, but a Yamcha nonetheless.
Right.
Moving on, at number 16, what I'm about to say might prove their point, but they have a very punchable face. It's Penny.
This one this one hurts me a little bit because I like Pokemon Scarlet Violet quite a lot, but at the same time, I think the reason I like them so much is because of their character, not because of their rival status, which is why Penny is so low.
Everybody remembers her as Cassiopeia, not Penny.
That and the game already provided you with a better rival in Arvin coming up later. So why would you want to rival Penny when you already have Nimona, Arvin, and the entire rest of the cast?
I didn't write this down, but I just thought of it right now. Like, not only is this character outshined by everyone else, I'm realizing now that Penny is supposed to be like another version of N, and it doesn't quite work nearly as well as N does.
Because Ed was cloaked in mystery in a way that benefited him,
And
and yeah,
Penny is just not that. Maybe we should do a video on evil team leaders.
maybe that'd be interesting, but I digress. Penny is a good character. I love her conclusion with the rest of Team Star. I think Team Star is a fun evil team, but as a rival, she's lacking.
Yeah. Let's move on to number 15. An appearance from X and Y. We have Shauna.
Of the three Musketeers, as I like to call them from Gen 6, Shauna's probably the best of the three. Um, she had a really nice appearance in the anime as a friendly rival to Serena in the fashion shows, I believe they are.
Contest, but yeah.
Yeah, and in the games, she's more excusable team wise, and yeah,
I'm gonna point this out. Her player stereotype is the first time player. This is someone who's never picked up a game before and they're playing it for the first time. How do you have a better team than Trevor if it's your first time? At least with Tierno, it makes sense that he has a crappy team. He's a challenge runner. But you are the first time player, and you have a better team than the Pokedex completer.
I think it's because I think it's because Shauna's just smarter.
Yeah,
But yeah, anyway, she's definitely the most memorable thing for her is the fireworks scene. I know it's cringy, I know it's a meme, but at least it's kind of ironically funny.
especially if you watch it in the daytime when you can't see them for crap.
Yeah, I know. The DS was not built for that.
I want to point. I only point out the Harley Quinn hair because you can nickname the character, and if you nickname your character Mr. J,
Oh my god.
I'm just saying.
I never thought of that. I never thought of that.
I did that my first playthrough. I dressed myself up like the Joker, purple
Oh
suit,
my
green hat,
god.
everything.
There's no
That's the
rules
only
against the
reason I
Pokemon,
put it.
Batman.
Anyways, coming in at number 14. Not only is it the last of the X and Y rivals, but it is the first time we have a quote conjoined section unquote. It's Caleb and Serena.
Yeah, I mean, alone, Caleb might have been worse than Trevor. Dude's so unbelievably boring.
Serena.
Serena carries this duo way higher because not only is she an interesting rival, but her anime appearance may just be the best out of anyone on this list.
I want to point this out.
There's a yeah,
Until Serena was portrayed in the anime, it was a big debate between who Ash was like ending up with and who was going to be his love interest. And then Serena appeared, and they pretty much made it instantly clear that it was her. No
exactly.
Misty,
I mean,
no Dawn,
yeah.
no May. It was Serena.
I still think X and Y is the best anime they've made. Serena's a big part of that, so of course I think she's a great character. But the reason why we have to put them so low is because A, Callum, B, X and Y just wasn't that strong a game. I
Yeah.
like it, but it was kind of mediocre.
X and Y had the most rivals going in, and it was the first game to lose them all. I just want to point that
Uh-huh.
out to you. There are some games that only have one rival. This game had four, and it's still the worst in terms of rivals.
I think X and Y had some good ideas, but it felt bloated with how many people you had to juggle.
Yeah. Plus, Caleb, you suck, and so does your fashion. That's one of my biggest complaints with the X and Y games is that there's no reason to play the boy. Every good article of clothing, everything, you might as well just play the girl. Anyways, moving on. At number 13, we have Marnie.
This, to me, is an improvement of Shauna in a way, but at the same time, obviously different. I like the Piers and Marnie's storyline. That's obviously her highlight. And the Morpeko signature Pokemon is kind of fun.
Morpek signature Pokemon. Piers is. I really feel like Piers is just this character. Like, Piers is such a memorable part of Sword and Shield, and it kind of screws over Marnie because a lot of what Marnie's likability is connected to Piers.
True, but like at the same time, Marty still has her own like flair to her almost.
Yeah, I hear that.
I like I like her a lot in the champion tournament and post game. I think she's great. And with the not removal of Piers, but like the sidelining of him, she gets a bit more spotlight and that helps a lot.
Yeah, I do see that. But anyways, moving on from Galar, at number 12, our first Unovan rival, everyone's favorite discount Danganronpa protagonist, Charon.
Aaron, to me, aside from Trevor, might be the most forgettable rival. Now that's not to say he's bad, as you can see, we have him at number 12. But I feel like he needed a bit more to him to stand out against Bianca and especially N.
And Hugh. But, like we said, this is the definition of a nerd. He looks like a Danganronpa protagonist mixed in with Byakuya. And if the most significant thing we can say about you is that you look like a Danganronpa protagonist mixed with Byakuya, you know you're forgettable.
The reason why he's so high though is because his team progression is really good, and he's he's the first gym leader type, and I like that archetype for the rivals because take Blue for instance, it really expanded them, gave them a shot to have a really good team. Unfortunately, Sharon got stuck with the second gym or the first gym you
Yeah, he
face.
was the first gym. I want to point this out to you. In the main games, in the main story, not counting the post game, he ends the game with 4 Pokemon: a starter, an elemental monkey, a Liepard, and an unpheasant. To this day, Charon has the worst rival team to end the main game. His team only gets better if you reach the post game, where he adds a Gigalith and a Haxorus.
Still, that post game fight is decent. That is like a solid fight.
It's a solid fight, but for the supposed super bosses of Gen 5, he's by far the easiest.
That's fair.
But let's move on to yet another discount anime character. This time we have Vegeta.
Yeah, Hugh is good. He's definitely an improvement over Sharon, but there's just something missing from him, and I can't put my finger on it. He could be higher, he could be lower. He's very interchangeable, but I like him as a personality, so he keeps this spot.
I'm just gonna point out that a lot of Hugh depends on whether or not you sympathize with him. I think this is really the first time they attempted to do the Gladion sort of thing where they made a sympathetic edgelord. And with that haircut especially, with "Where's Purloin?" It really didn't work. He's written like a shonen anime character, a very bare bones and basic one.
Yeah, and then came along Gladion. He's way better. So
Yeah. Well, if there is one thing memorable about him is that apparently he raised the starter Pokemon from an egg, and the memes.
that too. Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the top
Yeah,
half. Oh
yeah.
wait, you got something to say?
No, I was just gonna say outside of the games, he's very funny. Inside, doesn't have a lot going on.
You're about to feel my rage. Anyways, moving on with the top half of the disease. Moving on to the top half of the list, we have a health disease, pneumonia. I mean pneumona.
Today, Junior, come on, buddy. Anyway, Nimona. Gen 9 had really solid characters. Nimona is the first one you meet, and she's just Ash. I hate to break it to you, but it's Ash, and
Seriously,
while
when
it's
I
not a
first saw Nimona, I totally thought, oh, okay, this is who they're intending to replace Ash for the anime since they announced he's leaving.
well, that didn't turn out to be true.
Yeah.
But another Ash isn't exactly a bad thing.
He was the anime protagonist for 20 years.
I mean, he's one of the most iconic, so I don't see a problem in bringing him back this way.
If there is one thing I have to say, especially during the beginning of the game, it is heavily implied that Nimona is a very experienced trainer, and I do like the fact that for people who grew up with the series especially, this is a rival who is going on a repeat playthrough like you.
That, and I think due to that archetype, it is very nice to see a rival like her become a decent challenge because of the school circuit.
Yeah.
That version of Nemona's battle is solid. It's one of the best in that game, especially after the disappointment of the Gita champion battle. I think it's nice to have something difficult while still having this bubbly yandere character.
I'm not gonna lie, and this might just not be because I wasn't paying attention and didn't fully complete Scarlet and Violet, but I was kind of hoping for, like, you would get a fight with Nimona and you'd be like, oh, hey, this is the team I used the very first time I did the gym challenge. And it was just gonna be this, like, busted set of pseudo legendaries or something like that.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of that, like a Bax Caliber,
Yeah.
and then like a Metagross or something like that.
Yeah, like, this is the team I used first when I did the challenge, and then it would just reveal the team.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Sort of
Come.
like a red at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, that. Coming in at number 9, we have a hand for hair, Gladion.
Gladion is beaten How by a mile, and honestly, it's pretty easy to see why. Gladion Gladion's connection through the Ether Foundation makes him interesting. Like, bro just could not be interesting.
His family, they do something with his lineage.
Yeah, that's true.
They do something with his 40-year-old mother and his sister. That's why Gladion is so high up.
Yeah, but not to take it away from him completely. He's still got a solid. He's still got a solid personality. I like the way that he just dunks on How every chance he gets, and his Silvally is a really interesting ace.
It's not often that we see an ace that is like of such high status given to a rival.
That, and I think Gladion uses it well. It's one of the only Pokemon who can change types,
Yeah,
and to give that to him, interesting, decent choice.
very much so. Coming in at number 8, you gotta go fast. It's Barry.
Oh man, in the games, Barry is he's annoying. Frankly, I don't think he's endearing as they'd hoped he'd be, but he makes up for it with being probably the toughest rival we've talked about so far.
I mean, to be fair, they really just went and said, all right, let's look at Gary's team, or Blue's team if you're playing the game, and just make it better with all these new Pokemon. And no matter what starter you pick, you're struggling.
Right. Barry is very good at covering his own weaknesses. Now, does that translate every time? No, you can still handle him pretty easily. Pokemon isn't meant to be a hard game,
But still,
but I still like that little extra layer of challenge in my rival, and Barry does a good job with it.
yeah, his team is a starter. He will have a Rapidash, I believe a Floatzel, and a Roserade. Whichever one he doesn't have depends on the starter, because the starter will be the type of the one he doesn't need. A Staraptor, a Heracross, and a Snorlax. That's a damn solid team. And I also want to point out, man's got a 1% chance to happen. You lucky bastard.
Yeah, that's true. It's yeah, just in summary, Barry is carried hard by the way he prepares his team and he battles.
I also want to point out his name is a reference to the Flash. I just realized that now, Barry Allen, the
Huh?
Flash. He's supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
like super speedy and impatient.
Dude, you got to work on that. How did you not notice that sooner?
I don't know, man. I was annoyed by the fact that he was clearly intended to be a motor mouth, but his mouth is running at no miles per hour.
I like the idea of like you walking up to him. It was Barry.
It was me, Barry. I was the one doing the meme to make you gonk. I don't know what to say to avoid censors. Let's just move on to
Yeah.
number 7. How but if they actually tried in the post game? Hop.
We talked about separate lists earlier. Hop was my number 2. I love Hop. I I'm on a Discord server and a friend of mine loves Hop. He took me like he convinced me at why Hop was such a good character, and now I have no choice. He's just a lot of fun. I think he's the lovable loser type done right. Sorry, how. And I sympathize with the guy, and it's hard for me to do in a Pokemon game.
Like, one of the most minor points I want to start off with is that I would absolutely wear that coat. He is rocking that shit.
The Leon and Hop have some good fashion sense. I'll give them that.
But I want to say this. This is what they were trying to do with Hop done right. Hop is related to the champion of this region, and he has a huge lineage to live up to. I just think it's kind of unfortunate, and the reason I kind of dragged him down was that a lot of his development comes in the post game, so not a whole lot of people saw it unless they were that determined to fans to see it through.
That and like not to try and diss on Sword and Shield, but the post game with Swordward and Shieldbert is just bad. Straight up. It's not that fun. But I stuck it out because I wanted to see what Hop did. And he did take on the Bianca role a little bit, spoilers for later, but at the same time I feel like Hop did it well enough to where I forgive that reusing of a storyline.
Yeah. Anyways, he's Roll! No, he's Arvin.
All right, from here on out, I think this is safe to say we love every single one of these rivals going forward.
Yeah. They didn't make it this high
Arvin,
for a reason.
yeah, Arvin to start off with is tough because Arvin to me is the first time I got truly emotional. I didn't cry, I didn't tear up, but I got emotional.
You put some meat on
I'm
the
a
grill.
dog. Yeah, I'm a dog person through and through, and to see him struggle with his Mabosif sickness, oh, it hurt to watch. Arvin is such a good character. Now,
That
like I
intro,
said before, yeah, go ahead.
that intro really threw me for a loop. I was gonna be like, oh well, fuck this guy. I don't want to do anything related to him. And the only reason I started his side quest was because the levels. And when I started, I was like, oh no, I feel like such a douche.
Yeah, I mean, he's jaded for a reason. You find out about Sada and his Mabostif sick. Like, what are you
Oh,
supposed to do? Not be jaded?
he going through it.
I know. And then I like his development through the player character. Because as the game progresses, he becomes more and more friendly and more agreeable. And through that, he repairs his relationship and friendship with oh my god,
Nimona.
Nimona.
All right, you got Scott
And
Pilgrim
gets
on the brain, don't you?
no, I haven't watched Scott Pilgrim in like a couple weeks. Anyway, And then through the player character also meets Penny, who then becomes a friend. I think the storyline is done beautifully with Arvin. The only reason he's not higher up is because his battling skills needs major work.
Yeah. From a story perspective, I like Arvin a lot, especially the chef archetype. I'm not going to lie to y'all. There are some characters who are just chefs, and that's straight up why they became my favorite. Looking at you, Sanji. But Arvin is one of the best story written rivals that we've gotten in a while. It's just unfortunate that almost every other rival here has a definitively better team than he does.
It's tough to see him go at 6, but I think it's a fair placement.
Yeah. Hey, he would still make a Pokemon team because it's a team of 6.
That's true.
Coming in at number 5, we have the very first time a rival's name didn't make any sense. Blue.
Dude, we're not skipping to 4 yet. Calm down.
I dragged my mouse ever so slightly.
All right. Blue. Iconic. This guy was the first ever rival. You see his face plastered everywhere in Gen 1. And honestly, I can see why.
He was for his childish insults and what they had to do. I really did want to kick his butt my first time playing through it. Like, I did not like this man, but I wanted to see him go down. It was satisfying whenever you did so.
Right. And the thing is, with early Pokemon, that's what they aimed to do. They aimed to make a rival who you did not like and wanted to beat. Hence the name rival and not like friend or something like that. But I will say, through the game, he becomes more and more tolerable, and he gets more fleshed out. The Raticate, the 8th gym, your defeating of him in the Victory Road. He does gain character development, which was rare for RPG rivals back in those days.
Yeah. I'm reading the solid team for Kanto right now. I'm just realizing that we didn't put Trace on this list.
From
Let's Go.
Oh no.
Well, I don't consider Let's Go a main game anyway, so this is all main game rivals. Gen 7's main game was Sun and Moon. Trace and Elaine don't count.
It's all right. It's all right. Trace and Elaine, you guys we'll talk about you some other time. Anyway,
we'll make a bonus with our number 21.
Anyway, Blue, like I said before, solid development for such an early game, and yeah, I think he's solid.
Solid development, solid team. Yeah. He's a solid all-around rival, which is something you don't get a whole lot of these days.
Right.
Coming in at number 4, better from a story perspective, worse from a gameplay perspective, we got Silver.
That is correct. Silver isn't as good a battler, but he's better story-wise. And I think that Silver ranked this high because of his connection with Team Rocket.
Especially the Celebi event.
Right. Silver is one of my personal favorites. He's super underrated, and his story with Giovanni, with Celebi, and with Team Rocket, all paired with his less than agreeable attitude, was just so much fun to work through.
I would have put Silver higher if it wasn't for the fact he was absolutely screwed by being in Johto.
Johto was, I'm going to be honest, not good.
Yeah. He has an L team. Like, I guess he has a Magneton and a Ghastly, a Haunter, and a Golbat. I do like the detail of him not being able to evolve his Golbat into a Crobat because he can't get high enough friendship with it. but still.
And yeah, and
Uh,
then the Haunter Gengar thing might have been because he couldn't find a friend to trade it with.
it's true, but still, his team sucks. He's never something that I consider a challenge.
That's that's fair, but I think the story elements carry him through. That and his battling skills are still decent. They're not Arvin bad.
Yeah. Anyway, coming in at number 3, a better story and a better team all around, with the best rival theme in the entire series. Change my mind. Oh, wait, you can't. It's Wally.
Wally, to me, is the sleeper pick of our list. Is that fair to say?
I'd say it's fair to say.
Yeah. Wally doesn't get a whole lot of development past I want to say the third gym. Is that right?
Third.
That's where you fight him, right?
You fight him before the Mauville gym, and then you fight him again in the Victory Road.
There we go. In between those two fights, he doesn't get a lot of development, which may make you think, okay, he's probably middle of the pack. But the few appearances he does get are so strong and so character driven that it's hard to not put him anywhere below this.
I'm going to be honest with you. Wally, in the games at least, Wally heavily deserved to be the main rival of Oras and Alpha. Oh, back the Gemstones. You know what I'm saying. Gen 3. Ah.
Yeah, Gen 3 with Megas. Anyway, while I disagree because someone coming up later, Wally still would have been an interesting main rival.
The first time they didn't go for a D head rival.
That's true. And holy moly, that fight in Victory Road might just be the best fight we have on this entire list. Only rivaled by Nimona in the school circuit.
I'm not going to say that Wally was outright the best at battling, but I'm going to say he does have the highest jump of any rival here. To go from just one level 18 baby Pokemon to a damn near very competent team, I will say, good team. He has a heavy jump. The best? No. Good? Oh, yeah, he very good.
No, I'm not saying his battling skills are the best. I'm saying with the twist that he was the final hurdle, with the twist that his team improved dramatically, and his confidence levels rising, I think it's the best battle, not the best fight.
Okay, yeah, I see
But
what you're
in terms
saying.
of story, yeah, but in terms of story, I think Wally's is the best. Again, Nimona's school circuit fight is close, but I'd give it to Wally.
Yeah. All right. At number 2 and number 1, you can honestly interchange them. And that's kind of what we did. I'll be honest, we played rock, paper, scissors, and the loser had to put their pick at number 2. I was the loser, and my pick for the number 1 rival is Bianca.
I'm 3 for 3 with these rock paper scissors, bro. You gotta get better at this.
I gotta learn the Mark Rober strategy.
I'm joking, but I like Bianca a lot. It's
Be-
just that outside sources had me prefer the next duo.
yeah. Bianca is my favorite because if you want to go from a story perspective, this is the one that easily got the most. Probably helps with the fact that she got a sequel, and in her sequel, you see her develop from her original appearance. But there are a lot of things. The first time they did a rival with an identity crisis, and they didn't do it as well since. Completely underrated rival. And the Nimbasa City scene. Everyone knows the Nimbasa City scene.
Exactly. In Pokemon games, I will agree with you. Bianca might be the best rival. However, I think outside sources put the next two over the top. I still really like Bianca, and I think she deserves this number 2 spot.
I
I
also
just
want.
think that, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
All right. One more thing before we move on. I her team for the main story. I love how you can basically see where she gets every single one of her members. The starter is given to you, Charon, and Bianca, so naturally she gets the one that's weaker to yours. She gets her Stoutland from a contest that she designs from Route 1. Her Muna is from an important team plasma scene, and her Elemental Monkey is given to you, the rival, and Bianca, so it's heavily implied that she went to the same person that the other two did. You can explain where all of her team members were from, and I love that detail.
Very interesting because other times you just have to infer what route they got it on.
Whereas with her, you can
Bianca's
pinpoint it.
exactly Bianca's story and her team, and frankly, her black to white 2 appearance do help her a lot, and I definitely agree with her being super high. I just like the other two more.
Coming in at number 1, proof that winning the rock paper scissors match is good promo for them. We got Brendan and May.
Oh boy, these guys are my favorite for one reason: the manga. A lot of people don't know about the Pokemon manga. It's You don't really have to read it to enjoy Pokemon. Heck, I didn't for like a long while. But then I decided to read Hoenn manga, and these two were in a love story, and oh my lord, what a story. Brendan and May solidified their place at my number 1 because of outside sources. Now, you may say that's a little unfair because of this is a game ranking. But I feel like it is a little fair to have outside sources aid them. That's why people like Serena and Callum even made it that far.
Yeah. They would have had good teams if they had just fully evolved them. What was a good moment for Wally being the final hurdle definitely did hurt them in the games. But I will say, these are my second favorite designed protagonists, particularly the boy. The first one is the Gen 5.
Yeah. Brendan does have a really good design, but
Hat goes hard.
It does. But to counter the Wally point, the post-game fight with Brendan and May are really good.
The post-game fights are nice. And let's be honest, everyone knows May from the anime adaptation.
And while I will admit her anime adaptation is a little annoying, I don't think it's annoying enough to detract from the manga. And they're solid enough in game and have that bridge encounter under Bike Road, which is arguably one of the more memorable moments in Pokemon, the games at least. I think those few factors solidify them at number 1.
Yeah. Well, I got nothing more to say. Do you?
No, I think I'm all talked out.
Man, 45 minutes to go over 20 entries.
We had a lot to say. Yeah.
That will conclude it for this video here. So, I'm going to bid you all farewell. I'm going to let him say his piece.
Yeah, I was my pop. That was me. Oh my goodness. Thank you all for watching. I'm Mypoptart. I hope you have a good rest of your day. I'll hand it off to Bluefang to send us off.
The name was Bluefang. Take care of yourselves. West positioning us and all that. Get the order wrong all the time. I don't care. Wear a seatbelt.